I don't know if I'm doing this right. No, I should do it this way. No, okay, we're doing it this way. Oh, it's locked. My fault, folks. I'm trying to. I don't know why it's locked like that. I don't know how to unlock it. My fault. Anyway, I figured it out. Let me do something like this. There we go. Myself. I know I look rugged and rough, and my beard is rugged, and my dress is rugged, but you know what I'm saying? That's what I could do for right now. Shout out to y'all. It's Kish, Yardienation in the building. Going to do a part two to the war and traditional values, while the players of Max fear and hate high value men. Um, I'd skip some things in something prior, and the thing with me, I have ADHD, right? So I'll have thoughts that's brewing in my brain, and what happens is I'll forget them when it comes time for me to speak up my thoughts. So I have to write them down in notes so I can remember it when it comes time to speak them. So um, one of the talking points I wrote down that I said, if women move in response to the influence of men that are available to them, now that black men in the community are moving to a higher value traditional traditional black men are now moving to a more high value traditional mindset and a more high value traditional man. Now it's another influence available to black women to follow. And not only that, uh, these black men, they're speaking their standards on YouTube. They're speaking their standards, they're saying what they need from black women. So now the black women that want a high value man are seeking that. They know what they do to match that criteria to reach that guy. And that influence is there now on the board. So it's not just the player, it's not just the Pookie, it's not just the Ray Ray, it's not just broke niggas, it's not just the player, it's not just the Mac now. It's the black male that's able to acquire what is necessary to be a high value man. Now, traditional masculinity, that is more of an internal thing for the man. You know what I'm saying? As the Bible, when you go look into the Bible, when it talks about how I think Jacob wrestled with the spirit of the Lord and he overcame it, and then he became a new name called Israel. A lot of times for men now, right? In order for him to find his spirituality, in order for him to better himself, he must go through struggle, he must go through pain, he must rise up above it, above whatever his obstacles are. You know, he must conquer himself and become better. Being traditional or traditional manhood or masculinity, that's more of an internal thing, which the vast majority of black men have with the stuff that we've been through in this country and where we've come to, whether we from the hood, whether we're going to college, whatever walks of life. That's why I get kind of tired of the argument between the hood dude and I guess the educated lame. And I'm getting tired of these little labels and titles that they put on black men. Like the educated lame is just as masculine as the hood dude, and then you got brothers that are a mixture of both, or they're hybrids, right? So both of them are very masculine. I've seen some street cats get knocked out by some regular civilian dudes, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So masculinity is masculinity. The basic traits of masculinity is masculinity, regardless of what form it takes. Whether it be a soldier, whether it be a hood dude, whether it be a guy going to college, especially black men. No matter if you're going to college or you're a street dude, you're still facing the same racial prejudice issues, still facing the same battles, still fighting the same fights. So it really doesn't matter the difference between the hood dude or the educated lane. You're both facing the same thing. I seen black women disrespect the street dude and the educated lane just the same. Right? So back to the point. Um, now that black men and to this day and age, in this day and age, they can obtain the high value, the high value criteria. They could grind to that position. So now they can say, well, black woman, this is the thing you said you wanted. So now we're gonna need you to stand on business and bring what you said you're gonna bring to the table. Because in my opinion, I'm 32 years old, so I'm an early 90s baby. I'm a early 90s millennial baby. I was born in 92, right? So growing up, you would hear a lot of black women talk about we don't date broke dudes. We won't mess with this type of brother. We ain't gonna mess with this kind of guy. Which we now know the truth that black women were pulling from a very minority group of black men. The vast majority of black men are not gangbangers or thugs or criminals or any of that. The vast majority of black men, even though they might come from that environment, they are not criminals. I know that's what the world wants to believe. I know that's the image that's being projected by, hip hop or dancehall reggae for Caribbean niggas, but that's the majority of men. So those women were pulling from that minority of black men. Because during that time, you have brothers that were traditional. You have brothers that were lawyers. You have brothers that were working in corporate American jobs. You have brothers that were doing blue collar work. You understand? So you can even go back to the 90s and the 80s, and prior to my birth, you could go back and you could say that there were some brothers that were, getting to the paper, getting to the money. It was just that I think, unfortunately, at that time, what happened was Bill Clinton passed the NAFTA agreement, and it took a lot of factory jobs, a lot of regular jobs away from black men. So, a lot of those jobs that black men were working or they had that was helping them make money to hold down a family during the 80s and 90s, it got taken from them. And that was outside of black men's control. But nowadays, in the 90s now, in the 2000, 2024, black men have other avenues like, social media. On Instagram, you see black men who are cooking or working out, or you see black men who are social media influencers. You see black men like Yaki Awakening that's into health. You see black men like Cali Muscle or Chef Rush or brothers on social media being entrepreneurs, making money, making a lot of money. You look at Kyle Sinat. He's making a lot of money from just going on YouTube and turning on his camera and bringing his talents to life on the camera. So, brothers are able to meet that traditional criteria. So now black women have to show and prove. And I think black women were using the fact that in the 80s and 90s that there was a lot of things preventing black men from becoming that traditional criteria. I think they was just using that to say that, oh, if you meet this criteria, we'll be this. And now that in the 2000s, because remember, black men used to make $30K a year. Now that went up to $50K a year. Now the complaint that black women have now for black men is they lack emotional intelligence. For those who don't know, that's why they said that. Because black men were meeting were closing on the criteria, so black women had to show and prove, hey, you said that if black men became more traditional, or if black men did A, B, C, and D, you would be this. Then black women switched it from, it's not about your money, it's about your character as a man. So that's what black men were dealing with. First it was you lack emotional intelligence. Now it's you lack the character of your man. Which, if you go back and you listen to a lot of the R&B songs, listen to even a couple months ago when they came out with that list of places like if you take me to Root Chris or Cheesecake Factory or wherever, you know what I'm saying, they wasn't going to deal with you. So a lot of these things that these games that the black women of our culture play to not do what they say they're going to do if black men reach this level. It's basically Charlie Brown trying to kick the ball. I forgot what the chick name is. She sets the football there, right? Charlie Brown goes to kick it, and they remove the ball, right? So that's the issue I have with our women. But back to the main point. Now that you have black men that are both on the internet and offline getting to the paper, you got blue collar brothers that's able to get to 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? So now they're able to meet that traditional criteria. And I think with a lot of the brothers in their 20s, in their 30s, I think what they're lacking is how to vet women. Or that's my cat. How to properly vet women, how to set standards for himself, how to set standards for the women to follow. Which you hear black men on YouTube doing that. You see black men on YouTube saying, these are my standards, these are my criteria. And what gets me about on YouTube is, for a long time, you've been telling black men, step your game up, to have Johnson discipline, or to have, pick better women. Every time a brother got into a relationship with a chick and she doing wrong, and comes to find out that she's a 3 or 4, we'll say that it's the brother's fault because this is what you pick. You didn't have no standards. Now that brothers are traditional now, and they can meet that criteria now that they have some standards now, the whole internet is bashing brothers and saying that, you're insecure for having standards, which I don't understand. But yeah, so look at Kevin Samuels' high value standard, which I don't know why, which I think I said why black women would argue and hate the high value man standard, because A, it gives black men a criteria to work up to, and B, Kevin Samuels gave black women a criteria that they have to meet to get that dude. So now that there's a high value man standard, and you have brothers trying to reach that standard, or you have an Angry Man, or you have an Anton Daniels, now that brothers are aiming to reach that criteria, black women are going to have to now show and prove, either do what you say you're going to do, or if you don't do what you say you're going to do, it's going to prove that black men were not the issue. It's going to prove that you were the issue. See what I'm saying? And I think what the players in the max hate about the high value guy is that it's another influence. Now you got a high value brother that not only he got, it's my cat jumping up on the thing. Now that you have brothers in the black culture, and I'm speaking specifically to black culture and black community. Now that you have brothers that are able to influence women, that you have brothers that are high value, that are able to influence women now, and it gives women a criteria, and women are not going to mess with the players or the mics. You understand? Because there's another influence. So I think that's what the brothers on the internet are upset of, are hating on Anton Daniels, they're hating on Angry Man, and they hate Kevin Samuels, rest in power, because it's like it's a threat to what was going on in the black community. When you have black women doing, hot girl summers, you have black women doing what you call whole phases or 3 or 4 phases, or participating in the madness. So now that, Kevin Samuels, an Angry Man, or Anton Daniels, they're high value, but they're saying, no, we don't want those type of women. See what I'm saying? And then you have other brothers who have high value saying, nah, we don't like that type of black woman right there. Because before, black women were used to brothers accepting the bare minimum from them. They were used to brothers accepting them coming into the relationship with their shit not straight. See what I'm saying? So now that brothers are obtaining that high value criteria, they're having a set of rules and boundaries for the woman to follow to get to that dude. It's becoming an issue. See what I'm saying? So a lot of the players in Max that like 304s, or they like, the whole culture, the hookup culture, there are high value brothers on the board to influence women into a new direction. You understand what I'm saying? The problem, though, and it might contradict myself, even though women are going to move in response to the men that's available, the women have free will. They have to choose that man's influence to follow. They have to choose that that men to follow. The problem in our society is that women have multiple influences to choose from. They can either choose feminism, and feminism already looks at traditional man as something bad. Women can choose from feminism. They can choose to even follow other women, as you see it. They can choose. Women can choose whatever influence they want to respond to. That's why one of the concepts on the internet that it's always a man's fault. It cannot be always a man's fault if a man cannot control what a woman wants to do. You know what I'm saying? A man can show up his best self or present something to that woman, but she has to choose to follow that traditional man or choose to be traditional at the end of the day. So that's the only issue with I see with you know with the with brothers being traditional men and meeting that traditional criteria. That woman has to choose to follow those men. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many different influences hitting that woman. So I mean that's the only issue I see with because on these YouTube spaces, even though I would say that men, you must hold yourself accountable for the things that you can control and the things you can't control that happen to you. Now, when I say hold yourself accountable for the things that happen to you that you can't control, well, I'm saying that you must learn from the things that happen. Even though the things that happen to you, you can't control that, and that's not your fault. You still have to say, okay, what can I do better so it doesn't happen to me again? But just because something outside of your control happened to you, that doesn't mean that that's your fault. Somebody outside of you chose to come do something to you. This chick you with chose to lie to you. She could have told you the truth. This chick chose to disrespect you. She could have chose to respect you. If you get women that are able to choose how they respond to their men in their society, then they have to be held accountable to how they're responding. You see what I'm saying? I'm getting tired of watching traditional men get into relationships with women and that women choosing to lie to those men. You see what I'm saying? Now, if a guy lies to a woman, he's going to be held accountable, and I agree to that. I don't believe in a man leading a woman in a wrong direction, and he shouldn't pay for that. You should pay for that because you had a good woman, and you make the rest of us men look bad when you do so. You know what I'm saying? My issue is that when a woman lies to a man or chooses to lie to a man, she don't get held accountable, right? So that's my issue with that. So yeah, I think I'm happy for Kevin Samuels. I'm happy for yeah, but regardless of what they fear, you still got to do it. Women are held accountable for everything else in the society. When they're at their job, when they're at a let me block this person. Yeah, I hear you saying but come on, bro. We'll put you on timeout. 30 minutes. Yeah, I get it. You say that the woman's worst fear is accountability, but you still got to do it. You know what I'm saying? Women are held accountable when they go outside their house and they punch somebody in the face. She's going to jail. Women are held accountable at their job. If she doesn't do what she's supposed to do, she gets fired. You see what I'm saying? Women are held accountable in every other aspect of society, but when it comes into a relationship with a man, she's supposed to hold herself accountable for following that leadership of a man. Or if she no longer wants to follow that man, she has to respect that man and say, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. You understand? So the problem with what I see in these spaces is that you're teaching women not to be accountable. The guys who don't want to hold women accountable, they're teaching women not to be accountable. And those guys clash with Anton Daniels and Kevin Samuels and an Angry Man because they hold women accountable. And the argument from the guys that are holding women, that say they don't want to hold women accountable, is that it's weak in a man's masculinity to hold a woman accountable, or women are going to view men as unattractive if you complain about women, or if you hold women accountable, which in my experience, I know I got rugged bed and all this stuff, but the women who are attracted to me and like me, when I complain about something to them or hold them accountable, they fix themselves. They adjust. See what I'm saying? So I think the guys, this is why I'm going at the players in the max. I don't hate them. It's just that I'm giving an honest critique and I'm seeing the bullshit that's coming from their side. I think the players in the max don't want to hold the women accountable because as soon as the traditional guys say to the women, hey, have some sexual discipline, be sexually exclusive only to your husband, I think those in the max who want to continue to lead, especially in the black culture, the only reason why a pimp and player culture exists in the black community or in black culture is because during the 60s, when brothers was going to war to Vietnam, there was no men at home to stop the player and stop the Mac. And then at the same time, while brothers was going to war in Vietnam, brothers was still at home fighting for civil rights. So brothers was not able to be at home and be proper fathers in their community because they were fighting for rights. They were fighting to change laws to make a better space for black men. See what I'm saying? So like when you hear liberals speak and when you hear conservatives speak and they say that black men abandoned black women in the black community, it's like it triggered me because it's like with everything that black men fought for and that we are now benefiting from today, you cannot just make that statement because women decided to go on television shows during the 60s and make complaints that you wasn't even able to prove those complaints because you didn't bring black men on those talk shows to ask black men what was the issue or what was going on. See what I'm saying? So I think that's why the players in the max are bothered by Anton Daniels, especially Kevin Samuels, because they're not the only influence now. See what I'm saying? It's something different. You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, you can't say that holding women accountable weakens a man's masculinity. If a man's job is to lead his community, give instructions, give orders, be the authoritative figure in your community, God gave you that ability to do that. You're supposed to do that stuff. The other talking point, you hear a lot of guys from the players will say, the game is not about the women, the game is about yourself. Both of those are true. It's true that as a man, you must not allow a woman to dictate your masculinity or how you lead. But at the same time, you got to lead these women. If you're not giving women structure, if you're not holding them accountable, if they're left by themselves, they're going to cause a lot of chaos as you're seeing. You understand what I'm saying? And in black culture, with our women, it's not difficult, but it's difficult to sit down with black women and say, hey, this is where you're messing up, and this is where you need to improve. And I think with black men, I think our women, which I'm getting to the point where I don't think a lot of these sisters that are speaking are women. I'm really starting to believe that. I think our women don't really value the validation from their black men. Because when we tell black women, hey, we want more natural women, they do the opposite of that. Whatever black men say we value, they do the opposite of that value. But when they're dead outside their race, they do exactly what I'm gonna say what it is. The white men say they want from their women. If white men say they want slimmer women, and a black chick wants to date a white dude, she'll work out to date that white dude to become whatever that white dude needs. But if a black dude say, "Hey, I want a slimmer black woman," they'll shame that black dude and say, "What, you don't like big chicks or thick chicks or whatever?" You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I really don't. So yeah, that's what's going on in these spaces. Another issue I see in these spaces, you'll see the guy that's doing 100 will say he's traditional versus the 50-50 guy. You see what I'm saying? which is goofy. All of them, all these guys that are arguing with each other over what brand of masculinity is better for women, they're arguing over what brand of masculinity is better to women, or what's weak versus strong masculinity according to if women gonna like you or not. They're not doing it for themselves. They're not doing 100% or traditional masculinity for themselves. They're doing it, or they're becoming a brand of masculinity because of how their women are going to feel about them, or if their women are going to see them as weak or not, which that's not how you should be operating. At that point, that's why I say the game should not be about the women. Your woman should not be, you should not use your woman as a reference point to say, this is how my masculinity is to be operated. See what I'm saying? And that's the biggest issue I see in these spaces, especially amongst black men, which is the goofiest thing I've ever seen. I've been seeing this goofiness for a long time, especially with the beef between the dating coaches and the passport bros, which that's confusing. Because from the dating coach community, they'll say that if you're not being appreciated where you are, go somewhere else where you're appreciated, which is what the passport bros are doing. The passport bros, or black American men who are passport bros, been telling black women, hey, I need A, B, C, and D. And black women been doing opposite of A, B, C, and D. And then black women will call them brothers, well for every bit of 60 years, for the 60 years, black women saying we don't want them type of dudes. You know what I'm saying? We don't want lanes, we don't want cornballs. So I don't understand what the issue or the beef between black men in these spaces, regardless of whatever position they start. I don't know what the beef is. All it is just arguing over what women feel about them. See what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's my thoughts, or part 2 to this. Yeah, so that's my part 2 to this. Tomorrow I'm going to come up with a topic. I'll probably touched on it a little bit here. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. For those of you tuned in, please like and subscribe to my channel. This is Kish, Yardienation. I'm about to start calling this Yardie's Rants or something. Peace out.